Hello again and welcome to Money Matters. It's been 6 months since Russia invaded Ukraine. Zela reports on how a faraway war affects Hong Kong, from rising food prices to decreased trade and the risks of conducting business with sanctioned companies and people.
War in Ukraine, 6 months and counting. Meanwhile, back in Hong Kong, browsing the cheese counter. Ham for dinner. Vivian Wan is a regular at this Italian grocery store. She is shopping for a household of 3 on a Friday.
And it's about probably 2 meals out of the week, and some of it is for salad, some of it is for the main meal, and I have their sausages.
Vivian has noticed that the price of food keeps increasing. So instead of splurging on pricey items, she only buys what's necessary. This is her favorite cookie aisle.
All this has increased in price. And so now it used to be I would do this. I would go, oh, I would like one of this, and I'm gonna take one of this. And then I was like, oh, and I like this. And then I wouldn't think. I wouldn't even look at the price. Now I would just see what is it in my pantry that we don't have, and then I'll just take one.
Pasta, cookies, and products made with flour are 10% more expensive compared with last year. Flour is made from wheat. Ukraine and Russia used to export more than 25% of the world's wheat. Since the war began, shipments have stalled and global food prices have gone up.
The war has been affecting global food prices.
Tommy Wu, an economist, says Hong Kong won't escape the higher prices brought about by the conflict.
Given that Hong Kong imports over 90% of its food, the rise in global food prices did have an impact on Hong Kong's food prices. For instance, in July, food price inflation rose to 4%. And so this is definitely having an impact on Hong Kong's households.
I was working in a Japanese bank before, corporate.
The war has affected Vitaly Pentakov's business. He's a Russian national living in Hong Kong. He based his tech startup in the city in 2018 to help drivers find parking spaces.
You open the app, then you pick up your destination, Causeway Bay Station, and we give you the closest and cheapest car park suggestion in the area.
So this one's highlighted blue, $24, that's the cheapest.
Yeah.
Vitaly exhibited at a technology conference in Las Vegas in the United States at the beginning of the year. He set up a business entity to work with American clients.
I was rushing to register the company, and it was basically January, early February when the company registration was completed, and it was pretty right on time.
Next, he tried to open a personal bank account there.
I wanted to open the credit card to start my credit history, which is a powerful tool in the States, and I got rejected because with my nationality nowadays, it's a little bit tough to do different kind of company registration and engagements in the States.
He had been swept into the fallout of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24th. The U.S. and its allies sanctioned some Russian people and entities, which meant imposing financial and trade restrictions. Vitaly was in Moscow at the time.
It was a little bit like local panic because nobody knew what's going to happen with the currency. So people started to withdraw actively, like US dollars, euros, basically. And I ended up also in a large queue to the ATM. Now the circulation of physical US dollars and euros is limited. So it's still a bit difficult to get real cash on hand in Russia.
Vitaly withdrew most of his personal savings and headed back to Hong Kong. But with the restrictions, he had difficulty paying his 4 Russia-based employees.
Transaction to and from Russia started to be considered as risky by other international banks. So yeah, we have like British bank accounts, US, Japanese. So of course they are related to those countries that impose sanctions. My acquaintances and I heard different stories that if you continue to do the transactions to and from Russia, your bank account can be closed.
His company opened a virtual bank account to pay the staff in Russia.
Vitaly, how was your website affected by the Russia-Ukraine war?
One day I received the email from the hosting provider of the website that they will terminate my account. They mentioned that all the Russian nationals should be closing account.
Why would it have been a problem for you?
The platform for clients, for their use when they manage car parks, they manage properties and other related operations. So imagine like one day you cannot log in and you cannot continue your operations, which can impose a very big risk for us.
In the end, he moved all his websites to another host provider to minimize the chance of the sites getting shut down. Earlier in the year, Vitaly had almost finalized plans with Russian partners to expand his business into that country. But after the sanctions, the risks were too high and he couldn't go ahead with the opportunity.
Some of their beneficiaries are in a sanction list or somehow related to sanction. So basically, once anything is related to sanctions, it's a risk for us to cooperate if we want to maintain the business with other international partners. It does affect our business and reduce our opportunities.
Not all trade with Russia is banned. You can continue doing business with Russian companies or people as long as they're not on the US, EU, or other countries' sanctions lists. Otherwise, the consequences can be quite severe.
Either you're buying from that particular sanctioned company or you're selling to that company would trigger the violation of the US or the European Union sanctions, and that may have consequences. You can have as high as 20 years in prison time. And, but if you are talking about financial penalties, that could be million per violation.
He says business people are risk adverse, which is one reason why in the first 7 months of the year, trade between Hong Kong and Russia was $1.5 billion US, more than 50% less than last year.
This company...
Johnny C. runs a toy manufacturing company that specializes in making educational products in science and technology. Johnny used to make $200,000 US in sales to Ukraine every year.
We were selling a lot of traditional microscope and telescope to Ukraine. And we do have some importer in Ukraine that sell to other neighbor country as well, such as Poland, Czech, and a few others. But due to the war, we lost 100% of the sales to Ukraine. So it also affected the nearby countries' sales performance.
In the first 7 months of 2022, Hong Kong trade with Ukraine was $86 million US, a drop of 60% compared with last year. Many metals are produced in Russia and Ukraine. Johnny uses a lot of aluminum in his products. He says since the war, the price of aluminum increased by 25% year on year.
And this is a full metal-based microscope. And the material cost itself has cost 70% of the production of this item. So this product we have to increase almost 15% in price this year.
So when you increase the prices of your products, are people buying?
Some do, some most of them don't. So we have developed some new product. It's the sun, the earth, and the moon all together, where the kids can grow the crystal universe for themselves.
So this is cheaper to make than your microscope here.
Yeah, this is in fact a lot cheaper.
With the increase in the price of raw materials and problems with its traditional export markets, Johnny's forecasting 2022 sales will be 15% lower than last year. Tommy Wu says the ongoing war and other headwinds in the global economy will hurt Hong Kong's growth and estimates the city's full-year GDP will decrease by 0.8%.
The U.S. federal funds rates has been rising, and also the fact that global inflation is a very concerning problem for many countries. So all these would be affecting the real income in various countries and also their spending power.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell delivered a stark message at the central bank retreat in Wyoming. The Fed will likely impose more large interest rate hikes in the coming months and is acutely focused on taming the highest inflation in 4 decades. Powell acknowledged the Fed's continued tightening of credit will cause pain for many households and businesses as its higher rates further slow the economy and potentially lead to job losses.
The Federal Open Market Committee's overarching focus right now is to bring inflation back down to our 2% goal. Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve and serves as the bedrock of our economy. Without price stability, the economy does not work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. The burdens of high inflation fall heaviest on those who are least able to bear them. Restoring price stability will take some time and requires using our tools forcefully to bring demand and supply into better balance.
Powell's message may disappoint those who were hoping for a signal the Fed might soon moderate its rate increases later this year if inflation were to show further signs of easing. Coming up on Money Matters, how the owner of a waterfront property in North Point faces price declines as the Fed tightens credit. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. Some major local banks raised their HIBOR-based mortgage rates in August. The moves were expected as the U.S. Federal Reserve tries to quell inflation in the U.S. with higher interest rates that will eventually hit Hong Kong borrowers. Alice Kahn sees if the interest rate outlook has hit flat values in North Point.
North Point is a mixed-use urban area in Eastern District. Located in the northeastern part of Hong Kong Island, parts of North Point have been inhabited since before the British arrived in the mid-19th century. We traveled to North Point and visited this development that dominates the waterfront. Providence Center was built in 1984. The sea-facing facade is a reflection of the social conditions of the era. It was built when the government was under pressure to build new homes. The development was built to accommodate as many flats as possible, resulting in the massive length of the structure. The project has 1,450 units across 17 blocks. The apartment sizes range from 700 to 1,300 square feet. There are penthouses of 2,200 square feet. Many of the blocks face the harbor. The average transacted price stood at $22,400 per square foot in September 2021. But with the weaker market sentiment, the price has slipped to $17,400 per square foot in July. This week, we visited a 1,308 square foot flat with an asking price of $24.5 million.
Hi, come in, Alice.
Property agent Crystal Lai showed us around the flat.
It's quite spacious, dining area with the living area 500 square foot.
Then it separates the dining area and the living area, right? The layout is very practical.
Yeah, it's very practical because the dining area already have a 200 square foot and the living room have 300 square foot. Let me show you.
The living room is rectangular and 13 feet wide, easy to move and arrange the furniture.
Can we fit 8 people sofa here?
Yes, here is fit 8 people, even more. You see, there can fit 8 to 10 people sofa here. And you can have a coffee table here, still have a space for walk around.
Then how about here?
They have a cabinet because it's spacious. Even the cabinet bigger to here, still have a space to walk.
You can put some table here.
Yeah, I can put some small table here and pans there.
The living room also has 2 large walls.
You see, this side have some painting in the wall, and the other side they have a big television here with some painting to fit to the wall.
Then how about here?
Oh, there can have a big bookshelf with tall and wide bookshelf here.
Another sofa here.
Oh yes, here some, because here is very spacious, they can have a 2 to 4 sofa here as well. Can have a party with 20 people, even more.
The windows in the living room are not that big, but the flat has a completely unobstructed view of the harbor.
Let me show you the sea view.
What's over there?
Oh, there is Hong Kong, and there is ICC Chim Structure, and there is New Kowloon Kai Ta there. During the daytime, they enjoy the boat, and nighttime enjoy the light show.
Noise from the highway just below is dampened by double-glazed windows. The dining area is very roomy because of the high efficiency.
They can enjoy the meal here, and they also can enjoy the television here or the sea view here because they separately and very spacious.
This is a table for 6. Can we fit a larger table?
Sure, if you make the extend table, you can fit around 8 to 10 people here.
The flat owner built a feature wall on one side and installed vintage-style sideboards on the other side.
If the future buyer, they can mix a big cabinet to the ceiling because it's spacious.
Okay, then you can have a more storage area.
Yeah, sure.
Then we checked out the rest of the apartment.
Then how many bedrooms in this unit?
It's 3 bedrooms in this unit. Let me show you the first room.
The first room has a unique feature.
This is a folding door. Then is it original layout?
It's not original layout. The landlord locked down the wall and make the collect to the living room, and the light is into the living room.
Then how big is this bedroom? It seems also quite large.
Yes, the bedroom is 120 square foot.
At the moment, the owner uses it as a study, but it can be made back into a bedroom too.
Then how do you lay out the bed then?
You can lay out the queen's bed here, and the wardrobe here, and some small table there.
The future buyer have to rebuild the wall then?
The future buyer will build the wall. The original, the room is here, the door.
Oh, the door is here.
The room also has a harbor view. Next, Krista showed us the 250 square foot master bedroom with ensuite.
And this bed is a king size, right?
Yes, it's a king size bed. In this way, it's the best way to lay out the bed here when you wake up to enjoy the sunrise and the sea view.
The bay window takes up some space, but it can also be used as a seat.
Can we put a larger cabinet over here?
Oh yeah, sure, because it's spacious master room. You can put it bigger furniture, the wardrobe here.
The owner opted to build a walk-in closet.
Oh, where is the walk-in closet?
The walk-in closet is over here.
Wow. What's the size of this walk-in closet? It's like a room.
It's like a room, about 30 square foot. They put all the clothes inside, and also they can change into the room.
Krista says the potential buyer can replace this with a regular-sized wardrobe.
The wardrobe is only up to here, and then you will be more space here.
The ensuite bathroom is 50 square feet and in good condition. There are some cabinets in the corridor.
Oh, the shoe cabinet.
Yes, here also have a built-in shoes cabinet.
The next bedroom is smaller, at only 100 square feet.
It's a platform. They build a platform.
Yes, they build a platform that underneath keeps some clothes and a blanket.
There are built-in cabinets along the wall to increase storage space. The kitchen is large and separate from the rest of the flat.
This sliding door is not original, right?
It is not original sliding door. The landlord changed the door to fit the fridge.
The owner redid the kitchen, so the cabinets and appliances are up to date.
Now the owner is asking 24.5 million, right?
Yes.
Then is it reasonable?
It's reasonable price. In New Territory, Yunnan, the asking price is 20,000 per square foot, but it is Hong Kong Island. They're just asking 18,500 per square foot. It's really reasonable price.
What kind of buyer would like to buy this type of flats?
The expat family would like to buy this kind of flat because the expat, they like larger room and space. Usually the buyer will pay more for the sea view, and it is permanent sea view.
We asked surveyor Kit Jung for his view.
The level of 18.8 thousand honky per square foot on sellable area, I think the asking price, which is at the high end. The bank valuation, which is around 22 million. You really want to sell this flat to the market in short time frame, you have to consider to cut down the asking price by around 15 to 20%. The first thing is the view, because the view which is limited by the highway outside. And the second thing, which is the noise impact. Maybe this unit has already implemented some stronger glass to prevent the noise impact from the highway. But at the same time, it cannot, the windows inside cannot be opened at any time.
He says weak market conditions will make it a hard sell.
Maybe from the current housing price, there should be a further downward compression of around 3%. Now the price is starting to be softened during this moment, because everyone which is taking the wait and see approach.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. Next time, join us when we take a look at the Greater Bay Area and the opportunities on offer for Hong Kong talent, businesses, and investors. See you then. Good night.